The NBA is a league that has been changing a lot in recent years, and the recipe for success today looks very different than it did just a few short years ago. Arguably more than any other sport, the NBA has been a star-driven league where an individual's success gets almost completely tied to his team's success, and when you reach superstar status, winning championships becomes the name of the game in the eyes of many. Because basketball is a sport where one individual can actually impact a game in more ways than other sports because of the high-intensity back-and-forth nature of the game and the fact that guys play both offense and defense at all times, plus the fact that there are only 5 players on the court at any given time, which is smaller than other teams' sports like football and baseball. It results in there reasonably being more pressure on the individual. Having the best player on the court at any given time used to be a massive advantage when it came to winning championships, and while I'm not here to say that it's no longer an advantage, what I am here to say is that the front-loading rosters with stars and ignoring the rest of the roster is no longer a reasonable enough plan to get it done, and Nikola Jokic is someone that is very aware of this. In today's video, we will be addressing some recent remarks made by Nikola Jokic to the media that pretty much spell out an ultimatum that he is giving the Denver Nuggets, and if they don't listen to what he's saying and do something about it, then it could lead down a dark path that would lead to the downfall of this team. We'll get into all of that, current response and mindset of the team to this topic, the realistic options the team has in front of them to take, and the complications that could get in the way of all of it. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. When you look around the NBA, the top teams have a much different makeup than they used to have for years and years prior. The playoffs historically have been a time when rotations shrink, the game slows down, and the stars dominate the ball more than ever, because every possession means much more. It's the logic that started the entire super team era to begin with. It's even the exact formula that the Nuggets won the finals with back in 2023, as they were running a short 7-man rotation in the playoffs most of the time, relying on top dogs Jokic and Jamal Murray to play extended minutes and carry the load. A lot has changed over the last 2 years though, and while most of the same core from that championship team is still in Denver, they now seem much further away from another championship than anyone would have imagined. The reasoning isn't that Nikola Jokic or Jamal Murray have gotten worse as players, it's that the teams around them have switched the formula for success, and the Nuggets no longer fit the mold. Look, for example, at the 2 teams in the NBA Finals right now. The Oklahoma City Thunder obviously are still led by a superstar MVP caliber player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but the team around him is well balanced and deep at all 5 positions. Jalen Williams is an all-star number 2 option who also made the all-defense team this year for his work as an elite wing defender. Chet Holmgren is another truly elite defensive talent inside that gives them versatile options on offense, and then they have a plentiful amount of role players that fill in the gaps at a high level in the rotation, genuinely goes 11 players deep even in the playoffs. Strength in numbers used to be the Golden State Warriors' philosophy when they were on the rise back in the mid-2010s, and they became a dynasty because they were able to combine this formula with a top-heavy star-studded formula, and nowadays, strength in numbers is a necessity, not just a one-off. The Pacers are taking this approach even further by proving you don't even necessarily need a traditional superstar at the helm to make a deep run to the finals like this, as Tyrese Halliburton is a great all-star point guard, reviving the pass-first elite playmaking style of point guard, but he's not the traditional MVP candidate superstar you typically see on finals teams. Neither is Pascal Siakam, who won a ring in Toronto as a secondary scoring option, but is now thrust into more of a go-to role, playing well without doing anything that crazy. The key to the Pacers being able to succeed in their up-tempo, fast-paced style of play is that they too have strength in numbers, with a rotation that can go 11 or 10 players deep, and it keeps guys fresh to constantly be able to give their all when they are on the floor. Bringing all of this back to the Denver Nuggets, who are the subject of this video, they're a team that has been running 7 or 8 man rotations in the playoffs for pretty much the entire Nikola Jokic era, and this year, they were really only getting contributions from 6 players, besides one big game from Julian Strawther in Game 6 against the Thunder. Nikola Jokic is well aware of what needs to be changed as well, and what brings us to the quote he gave in a recent interview after the Nuggets got eliminated, where he said, quote, "We definitely need to figure out a way to get more depth. It seems like the teams that have longer rotations, the longer benches, are the ones winning. You look at Indiana and OKC and Minnesota, and they have been great examples of that." It's one thing to understand it and communicate that wish to the front office privately, but by speaking on the makeup of the team around you publicly like Jokic did, he's sending a message loud and clear to the front office that he is getting frustrated with the direction that the team is going, and he wants to see change fast. The problem with this is that the front office may not be planning to take Jokic's advice, and some public comments made by team chairman Josh Kroenke tell a bit of a different tale. To quote his words, he said, "A lot of our roster is locked in from a contractual standpoint. I think a lot of our answers are internal right now, with where we are from a roster standpoint. We have guys locked into contracts. I know that we've already had DA as our coach for 6 weeks or so, but he didn't really get a chance to really implement any of his own ideas because of the time frame." End quote. That, to me, sounds a lot like a guy planning on running things back, hoping that the leadership of newly hired head coach David Edelman for a full season can make a difference. In reality, though, roster changes are needed. It's not great that the front office sees the current state of affairs and is still apprehensive about shaking things up, but at the same time, it's not a baseless mindset because the Nuggets are pretty stuck where they are. Denver has the 4th highest payroll going into next season, and are already well into the first apron of the salary tax, staring right at the second apron in the face. They don't have any money to spend in free agency, they don't have their first round pick in this year's draft, and they don't have many valuable and movable players or assets for trades, which is yet another big reason why the Nuggets seem to be headed in a dark direction that could end up frustrating Nikola Jokic to the point where he gets pushed over the edge. Throw in the fact that Christian Braun contract extension conversations are coming up soon, and after that, they'll have even fewer options for flexibility. Russell Westbrook has a player option for next year, but if he opts out of it, they still don't have money to replace him without convincing quality talent to settle for the mid-level exception. Michael Porter Jr. and the $38 million he's being paid next year are the glaring anchor holding this team back from moving forward, but finding a team willing to take his contract in is easier said than done. MPJ was paid a max contract back in 2021 because he was showing promise as a big-bodied forward that could shoot the lights out, and 4 years later that does still hold true, but nothing else about his game justifies that salary whatsoever. When Porter catches fire, he can be a lethal perimeter shooter with the length and size to be unfazed by most shot contests, but most of the time he's just a ball hog who takes a lot of poor quality, tightly contested jumpers, and he does it while giving inconsistent effort on defense. If he was being paid about 1/3 of the salary that he's making, then this wouldn't be an issue, but the fact that his contract is clogging up the team's payroll, preventing them from addressing glaring weaknesses and holes elsewhere, makes his presence the biggest weakness of all, and unless they find a way to trade him this summer, then there won't be any reason to believe next season will be any different for this group. Nikola Jokic is under contract for 2 more seasons, and then he has a player option for a 3rd season, but unless he sees the team making an active effort to build themselves back into contention, then I don't think it's out of the question for him to opt out of that player option. He'll have zero issue finding a team willing to offer him another Supermax contract on the open market, and his only motivation right now is to compete for championships. The Nuggets put all of their eggs into a basket that's out of style, and adjusting to the modern recipe for success is incredibly difficult given their limitations. It's not impossible by any means, but new general manager Ben Tenzer has a lot on his plate this summer, but accomplishing it could legitimately make or break their future partnership with Nikola Jokic. He's not getting any younger at 30 years old, and his patience is running thin, so they will need to act fast or face the consequences. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think the Nuggets can do this summer to turn things around. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.